Imagine you are the strongest knight in England.
You're wearing heavy steel armor. You're riding a huge war horse, and you've trained your whole life to win battles.
Now imagine charging into battle and being stopped by a group of farmers holding really long sticks. That might sound impossible.
But that's exactly what happened in the year 1314 during one of the most famous battles in history, the Battle of Bannockburn.
England had a bigger army. They had rich knights and powerful horses. Most people believed they would win easily.
But instead, a smaller Scottish army, led by a brave king named Robert the Bruce, shocked everyone. In just 2 days, they defeated England's powerful army using smart planning, teamwork, and one very scary wall of spears.
By the end of this story, you'll understand how a smaller army beat a bigger one, and why Bannock Burn became one of the greatest victories in Scottish history.
But first, let's look at why this battle even happened.
Many years ago, Scotland and England were fighting over control of Scotland.
England wanted to rule Scotland, but many Scottish people wanted to be free and have their own king. England's powerful king, Edward I, had already invaded Scotland many times. He was so tough that people called him the Hammer of the Scots. When he died, his son Edward I became king.
But Edward II wasn't as strong or as smart as his father.
Around this time, Scotland found a leader who refused to give up.
His name was Robert the Bruce.
Robert the Bruce became the King of Scotland in 1306, but the beginning was very hard for him. He lost battles and even had to hide in forests and mountains.
But Robert the Bruce didn't quit. Slowly, year after year, he rebuilt Scotland's army. His soldiers attacked English castles and took back land piece by piece.
By 1314, one castle was very important, Stirling Castle.
Whoever controlled Stirling Castle could control a big part of Scotland.
The Scottish army surrounded the castle, and the English promised to come and rescue it. So King Edward III gathered a huge army and marched north to Scotland.
This army was enormous.
Historians believe the English had around 15,000 to 20,000 soldiers.
They also had thousands of knights.
Knights were the most powerful warriors of the Middle Ages.
They wore heavy armor made of metal and rode strong war horses. When they charged into battle, they could smash through enemy soldiers like a moving wall.
Most battles ended quickly when knights charged. Meanwhile, Robert the Bruce only had about 6,000 to 8,000 soldiers. Most of them were not knights. Most of them were foot soldiers with spears. So if you looked at the two armies, it seemed obvious that England would win. But Robert the Bruce had something much more important than numbers. He had a very clever plan.
Robert the Bruce knew that English knights were dangerous when they could ride fast across open land.
So he chose a battlefield where horses would have trouble moving.
The battle happened near a small river called Bannock Burn, close to Stirling Castle.
The land there was tricky. There were marshes, muddy ground, narrow paths, and woods. That meant the English horses could not move easily or charge properly. Robert the Bruce even ordered his soldiers to dig hidden pits and traps in the ground where the knights might ride. Imagine galloping forward on a horse and suddenly falling into a hidden hole.
That would completely ruin a charge.
But the Scots also had another secret weapon.
They used a special formation called a schiltron.
A schiltron was a tight group of soldiers standing very close together, each holding a very long spear. The spears pointed outward in every direction. If you looked at it from above, it looked like a giant spiky hedgehog made of soldiers. Horses are smart animals, and they do not like running into sharp objects. If a knight tried to charge into a schiltron, the horse would hit a wall of spears first.
This made it almost impossible for cavalry to break through.
Before the big battle even started, something amazing happened. One day before the main fighting, a powerful English knight named Sir Henry de Bohun saw Robert the Bruce riding nearby.
Bruce was not wearing heavy armor. He only had a battle axe and rode a small horse.
The knight saw his chance. If he could kill the Scottish king, the Scottish army might give up immediately. So Sir Henry lowered his lance and charged straight at Robert the Bruce. Imagine seeing a giant armored knight racing toward you on a huge horse. Most people would panic. But Robert the Bruce stayed calm. At the last second, he moved slightly to the side and swung his axe. With one powerful strike, he split the knight's helmet. Sir Henry fell from his horse and died instantly. The Scottish soldiers cheered loudly. The English soldiers were shocked. And suddenly, everyone believed the Scots might actually win. The next day, the real battle began. King Edward II ordered his knights to attack. Thousands of armored riders charged forward. But the ground was muddy and narrow. The horses slowed down. Then they reached the Scottish army. Instead of breaking apart, the Scots stood firm in their schiltron formations. The horses ran into a forest of spears. Knights were knocked off their horses. The charge stopped. Then something surprising happened. The Scottish soldiers began moving forward together, still holding their spears. Slowly and steadily, they pushed the English army backward. The English soldiers were packed together in a tight space between the river and the Scottish army. They had nowhere to move. Some soldiers fell into the river and drowned. Others were crushed by horses or pushed down by the crowd. The battlefield turned into chaos. Then another strange thing happened. Behind the Scottish army were many camp followers, people who cooked food, carried supplies, and helped the army. When they saw the English starting to panic, they grabbed whatever weapons they could find and ran toward the battlefield. From far away, the English thought another Scottish army had arrived. That was the final blow. The English soldiers lost hope. And when soldiers lose hope in battle, they run. Soon, the entire English army was retreating. Even King Edward II had to flee the battlefield to save his life. The Scottish army had won. It was one of the most surprising victories in medieval history. After Bannockburn, Robert the Bruce became a hero in Scotland. His victory helped Scotland continue fighting for freedom. Finally, in 1328, England officially recognized Scotland as an independent country. The Battle of Bannockburn also proved something very important. A bigger army doesn't always win. Sometimes the side with the better plan, stronger teamwork, and smarter leader can defeat a much stronger enemy. And that's exactly what Robert the Bruce and the Scottish spearmen did at Bannockburn.
They showed the world that even powerful knights in shining armor could be stopped by courage, strategy, and a wall of very long spears.
If you enjoyed this story and want to hear about more incredible battles from history, make sure to like the video and subscribe. And check out the next video where we explore another moment when a smaller army shocked the world and defeated a much bigger one.